You know, there's something really interesting about personal space too, about how we, especially as Americans, perceive personal space. And they did the study on how when President, and the first time somebody notices that when like you become to a very high level, and President Kennedy during his campaign, when it was obvious he was going to be president, if you look at tapes or anything, people then stand back and start giving him a 3-foot berth. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, I digress.
That's called the hula hoop of space.
Oh, there's a name for it?
Well, it's in my bully book. What we talk about is that when people say you're in my space, that's not just a psychological term, it's a physical term. And if think about a hula hoop in front of you, beside you, and behind you. And if people encroach upon that physical 3 feet space, they're on your turf. And it's like, back off.
Interesting. Now I know what to call the hula hoop space. Well, our guest today is Sam Horn, who is a fascinating woman. She's a prolific writer, a prolific speaker, a prolific influencer, a prolific driver, and she's amazing. So I'm just so excited. And this was a monumental feat in negotiating a day. Normally this is on Wednesdays, but you were in Hawaii, I was in Europe, and everybody, Nancy, where's Nancy, who's our key hostess here, was in Asia. So trying to get everybody on the same continent at the same time became this huge challenge, and we did it. So I'm glad you're all here today. So, and speaking of prolific writing, Tung Fu, and I wrote today on my Twitter page, I hope I don't get tongue-tied when we talk about Tung Fu, and what's holding you back, and concentrate, which was the beginning, really, of your journey, wasn't it? Concentrate your first
Good
book.
memory,
So
you bet.
Talk about that. Pop, which is a fascinating book, how you use language to pop your message, and Take the Bully by the Horns. And you know what, I haven't read this one, so I'm really excited. So, and I asked Sam to please bring some books because I know once you hear her speak today, you're going to be dying to get your hands on these. So, and you also have CDs over there, so I'm very, very excited. So we're going to put a couple of these up so people can see them, the hardbacks anyway. So anyway, Sam, you're not from Washington, D.C. Let's go back to the beginning. Where did you start your journey?
I grew up in California on the back of a horse, and it was a very small town, literally more horses than people, and 1,000 people in the entire valley in Southern California, this town. And from there, I went up to Sacramento, California, and graduated from college. And as you know, there's a story behind what happened after college, so I'll wait and see if you want to ask a question about that.
So, you know, so they really took the rancher girl and popped her out. Did you see that the journey you had ahead of you? Did you sense it? Did you feel it? Did you have that? You know, sometimes you just have this hunger to leave. Some people are raised in one place, that's where they're going to be, that's where their roots are. And then other people have this hunger, you know, to go and to do. What were you like?
That's a great question, Cynthia. Is that a reporter once asked where I got my confidence, and I told him on the back of a horse, because when we were 6 years old, we would be gone all day long, and our parents wouldn't worry because they knew we were safe. And I learned one of the most important characteristics that has served me all my life, and that's resourcefulness. Because see, if you're out in the middle of nowhere and the bridle breaks on your horse, you know, you got to figure it out. You didn't have cell phones back then. You couldn't call anyone. You have to figure it out. So that ability to be resourceful was, thankfully to horses, was something I learned at an early age, and it did morph into this understanding and appreciation that there's a huge world out there, and I could not wait to get out on that adventure of life.
So you're kind of like me, life's a buffet. You know, it's the one you just want to dive into and experience and do everything, take risk and do those things.
Yep.
So what did you see your career being? I mean, when you tried to envision, what did you see yourself doing?
Well, this is one of the first critical crossroads in my life. As you know, I'm working on a book now called Serendestiny. And I think that when we reach major decisions or intersections, we have a choice. So when I was trying to decide what to study in college, everyone was telling me I should be a lawyer or a doctor to use my mind. Well, I didn't want to be a lawyer or a doctor. Is that I'd played competitive tennis. Back then there was no girls tennis team, so I played on the boys tennis team at my high school. I was a competitive swimmer, and I was actually already working in summers being a swim coach and coaching tennis. And so are you ready for what I wanted to study? Recreation administration. And that degree got no respect. I mean, people wanted to know if I was going to be studying underwater basket weaving or something like that. And it was considered a slacker degree. And yet I felt it had value. I felt that part of every life is doing something we love that puts the light on in our eyes. And I wanted to study it and make a career out of running tennis resorts or recreation departments or athletic tournaments and things like that. So I studied that, and it set a chain of events in motion that has shaped my entire life.
You know, I think that that's really important. One of the things, and I think especially women find really daunting, is recreation, the stopping, because I think we discover great things about ourselves in the moment when we step back and we do something that's fun. And they actually have done studies that women play more games online than men do, which I thought was really interesting. I think it's a form of escapism, and I think we feel very guilty about that. But I think it's also, it's when we step out and in recreation. So you actually were doing something really important, but I could see in that period of time, you know, it's like that tic-tac-toe, you know, those kind of games, you know, what are you thinking? And look where it led you today. So did you get your degree in that field?
I got my degree in recreation administration, and then one of the things that I've come to understand is that when we're at these critical crossroads and we're trying to make major life decision, there's an on-paper option. And on paper is the job that pays a lot of money, or it's what we studied or something like that, and it makes a lot of intellectual sense. And then there's the on-passion option, and this is the one that puts the light on in our eyes, and this is the one that's pulling us, and it may not be logical. However, it's just drawing us. And when we do our half, and when we have the courage to pick the on-passion option, what happens is that we are doing our half, and I know this is going to sound woo-woo, but the universe does its half and meets us halfway. So, long story is that I graduated, and a week after graduating with this degree, I got a phone call out of the blue from a boss of mine in recreation who said, "Sam, I work for Sea Pines Plantation on Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. Would you like to come back and run our executive fitness program?" So the dream job, because Sea Pines Plantation was the first destination resort, they were the pioneer in this. So I had an opportunity to go back. Here I was, you know, they put on tennis tournaments with Chrissy Everett and with Jimmy Connors and McEnroe. I was in the middle of all that, all the golf and everything. I lived the life of Riley, and it all was a reflection of me making that choice.
It's incredible. I always think about, like, when I choose to do business with somebody, no matter what field it is, whether it's my attorney, my doctor, whoever I go to, I always go, does this person have a passion for what they're doing? Because there's a light, there's this inquisitive, that's the desire to know more about what they're doing. And I want to be in touch with those people who are going to go the extra mile, who are going to take the time. Their nighttime reading is about related to their field, to be better at what they're doing and to be a better whole person. And you just know when you're in a room with a person who's passionate. I'm sorry that you're not, but that's okay. We'll get over it. But it's really fascinating. So how long were you there at the tennis camp, and where was it, North Carolina?
It was in South Carolina, Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. And when you're on passion, what happens is it leads to it moves your life forward for good. And I'll say that again because it's such a powerful phrase, is when you make congruent decisions that are in alignment with your values and your vision, it moves your life forward for good. Because the people around you see you in action, and they like you, they respect you, they admire you, they want to be around you, they want you to join their team. So while I was there, I had an opportunity to meet Rod Laver. Rod Laver, any tennis players here by any chance? Yay! We're dating ourselves, aren't we? Rod Laver won the Grand Slam of tennis twice. That's the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, the US Open, and he won all 4 tournaments in the same year twice, which is really unprecedented. And so he had a chance to see me in action, and he hired me to help run his tennis resort. So here I was leading the life of Riley. I was playing polo, I was playing tennis. In fact, can I tell you one of my proudest moments?
Yes, share.
Okay, back then, the Family Circle Cup was on at Hilton Head Island, and so I was hitting with a friend, and this crowd started gathering around the fence. And a friend was watching, and she said, "Sam," she said, "they think you're Chrissy Everett." Yes, yes.
And if they called me over, they'd go, "You got toilet paper in the back of your skirt," you know, for me. So, yeah. But that's fascinating.
So, and so I didn't mean, go ahead.
No. I think that is fascinating. So Rod Laver, now where was his tennis camp? You said he asked you to come work with him?
Palmetto Dunes, right there on Hilton Head Island. So I had a chance to work with him. Then World Championship Tennis called, and they'd had a chance to see me in action, and they said, we're opening the first country club for racket sports in McLean, Virginia. It's called the Regency Racket Club. Would you like to come up and help us open it up? So I came up to Regency Racket Club right there in McLean, Tyson's Corner, and I, once more, living the life of Riley. I got to play tennis at the White House. This is when Ford is in the White House, and one of my, another hallmark memory is I'm playing tennis with the head of the DIA and the head tennis pro from Regency Racket Club, and the head of the DIA says, grab the tennis balls. And I'm thinking, nuclear attack, nuclear attack. You know? And no, it was Ford's dog, Liberty, a golden retriever, who would come and steal your tennis balls. So there I was. Art Buchwald would be the chair umpire for the tennis tournaments we put on. So it was just, we created a little Camelot. For 2 years, this was the place everyone came and hang out. A lot of politicians were there and so forth. George Bush was the head of the CIA then. He's a very good tennis player, George Bush Sr., so he hung out there a lot. And so it was a great couple of years.
You know, sports is used a lot in business for building relationships. Is tennis one of those games that's good for that?
I'm so glad you said that. Is that we have mostly, this is CEO Chick Chat, and I believe that getting good at a sport is an entree to jumping the chain of command. Because see, as a good tennis player, I'm playing at the White House. What are my chances of being at the White House? Not very good, unless I was really good at a sport. There's a woman named Kathy Worley in Wailea, Maui, and Kathy is a realtor. And so she was spending a lot of money marketing and so forth, and then I talked with Kathy. I said, Kathy, you're in Wailea, right next to the Four Seasons, the Grand Wailea, the Kealani. You know, why don't you go to the concierge? Because affluent, executive type people are coming in, and they're good tennis players. They're always looking for a match. So you just let the concierge know that when guests of the hotels come in, they're looking for a match, give you a call. Well, Kathy Worley sometimes played 2 or 3 times a day. However, she had more business than she could handle because they'd be out on the court. What do you do? Oh, I'm a realtor. Oh, what's happening in real estate and so forth. She didn't hard sell herself. It's just, I believe that positioning is putting yourself wherever luck is most likely to happen. So who's our target audience? Where do they hang out? I had another client who handled big insurance and things like that, and she rode dressage, and she thought, well, that has nothing to do with my business. Oh no, now she's down in West Palm Beach, Florida, where there's a lot of polo and dressage and so forth. She just goes, she competes. People see her in action, like her. She has all the business she can handle. You can marry your passion and your profession. If you're really good at it, it will give you access to your target clients in an in-integrity way where you are not selling them.
In an in-integrity way.
Mm-hmm.
In an in-integrity way.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. So, you know, I've never been one to be drawn necessarily to sports, although I wasn't, like, I was captain of the baseball team. I was always like the short girl, the basketball team. I think it was the joke, you know, but, or they just said, you know, I'd talk people into doing things.